You felt it your whole life. That invisible force dragging you down, pinning you to the ground, making your legs tired after climbing stairs, gravity. But what if I told you something bold, maybe even arrogant Tyvran gravity is not pulling you down right now as you're watching this? Gravity is not pulling you down right now as you're watching this. Gravity isn't dragging you toward Earth at all. In fact, the reason you feel weight has nothing to do with being pulled. And once you see it, once you really see it, you can't unsee it. Let me ask you, Smething, have you ever seen gravity itself? Not its effects, not an apple falling, not the moon orbiting, gravity itself. No, what you've seen are objects following paths. That's it. Motion. So here's the question. What if falling isn't being pulled? What if falling is actually the most natural, effortless thing in the universe? And what if standing still is the weird part? Imagine you're floating far away from Earth. No air, no resistance, just empty space. You're not moving. You feel nothing. Now imagine Earth suddenly appears beneath you. From your perspective, you begin accelerating toward it. It looks like Earth is pulling you. But let's zoom out. This is where physics gets uncomfortable. According to Albert Einstein, gravity isn't a force in the traditional sense at all. It's geometry, mass bends spacetime, and objects move along the straightest possible paths in that curved geometry. Straight lines in curved space, which means when you fall toward Earth, you are not being yanked. You are simply following the straightest possible path in a curved universe, like a marble rolling along the surface of a warped trampoline. The marble isn't being pulled by the fabric. It's just following the shape. Now here's the twist. If falling is just following the natural path of space-time, then why do you feel heavy when you stand still? Why do your feet ache? Why does the floor push back? Think about that. If gravity were pulling you downward and you're standing still, something must be preventing you from following your natural path. And that something is the ground. The floor is pushing you up constantly, relentlessly, at about 9.8 meters per second squared. Right now, the Earth is accelerating you upward. That's what you feel as weight, not a pull downward, but a push upward. You are being prevented from falling, and your body doesn't like it. In orbit, astronauts float, not because there's no gravity. There is. In fact, gravity up there is almost as strong as it is on the surface. They float because they are falling, constantly. But they keep missing the Earth. They're following the natural path. And they feel weightless. You, standing in your room, are the one under force. The ground is pushing on you. Your bones compress microscopically. Your internal organs settle. Your muscles tense to resist. Weight is resistance. Falling is freedom. Now this is where Richard Feynman would smile. Because physics doesn't care about our intuition. It cares about consistency. And here's the deeper principle. The laws of physics look identical in a freely falling frame. Inside a falling elevator, you float. You can't tell whether you're drifting in deep space or falling toward Earth. That's not philosophy, that's the equivalence principle. And it tells us something profound. Gravity and acceleration are indistinguishable, which means standing on Earth is like being inside a rocket, accelerating upward through space. The floor isn't holding you up, it's accelerating into you. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're in a car that suddenly accelerates forward. You feel pushed back into your seat. Is something pulling you backward? Diet. No. Your body wants to continue in a straight line. That's inertia. The seat pushes forward into you. Now replace forward acceleration with upward acceleration with upward acceleration. That's your life on Earth. The planet is accelerating upward into your feet. You feel heavy because your natural motion falling through curved space-time is being blocked. Let's zoom even deeper. At the microscopic level, what's actually happening when you stand? Your atoms never touch the ground. Electrons repel electrons. The electromagnetic force prevents interpenetration, so the push you feel is electromagnetic repulsion between atoms, not gravity. Gravity shapes the path. Electromagnetism provides the resistance. Micro versus the resistance. Micro versus of micro, macro, microscopic level. Quantum fields interacting, forces exchanged, probabilities unfolding. At the macroscopic level, I feel heavy. The experience emerges from countless atomic negotiations. Now here's another analogy. Imagine a river flowing downhill. The water follows the slope naturally. Now place a rock in the stream. Water piles up against it. Pressure builds. Is the river pulling the water against the rock? No. The water wants to flow downhill. The rock resists. You are the rock. Space-time is the slope. Falling is the flow, standing is obstruction. This reframes everything. You don't fight gravity when you jump. You temporarily stop the ground from pushing you. You allow yourself to follow your natural path briefly. And then the Earth catches up, because Earth is curving spacetime beneath you. Now someone might object, okay, but objects clearly attract each other. The moon orbits Earth. Apples fall. That's pulling. Let's be precise. In Newton's framework, yes, gravity is a force between masses. Gravity is a force between masses. But in Einstein's deeper framework, the moon is simply following a geodesic, the straightest possible path in curved space-time around Earth. There is no force acting on it in its own frame. It is in free fall. That's the key. The only time you feel gravity is when you're not following it. Let me push this further. Why does this matter, my giant? Because it reveals something about reality itself. The universe doesn't run on pushes and pulls in the way our senses imagine. It runs on geometry and probability, on local interactions and global curvature, on simple laws repeated at every scale. On simple laws repeated at every scale. You are not pressed to Earth by some invisible hand. You are being denied your natural motion. And that denial creates structure. Mountains stand, oceans rest in basins, atmospheres cling to planets, because matter follows curved space-time, and surfaces resist. Now zoom out even more. Why does Earth curve space-time? Because energy and mass tell space-time how to bend, and space-time tells matter how to move. A feedback loop of astonishing simplicity, no strings, no hidden ropes, just geometry. The universe is not pulling you down. It is shaping the stage upon which motion unfolds. Now let's pivot. If falling is natural and standing is resistance, what does that say about life? Life is constant resistance against gravity, against entropy, against equilibrium. Your heart pumps blood upward to your brain. Your heart pumps blood upward to your brain. Your muscles contract to keep you upright. Every cell fights to maintain structure. At the atomic level, everything trends toward simplicity, toward lower energy configurations, toward spreading out. But life builds complexity by resisting natural flow, temporarily. Gravity is similar. It shapes matter into stars and planets. It pulls gas into spheres. But what we feel as heaviness is the cost of structure, the cost of surfaces, the cost of being solid in a curved universe. Now imagine if the Earth suddenly vanished, no explosion, no drama, just gone. What would happen to you? You wouldn't drop. You would move in a straight line at constant velocity, whatever velocity you had at that moment. Weightless instantly, because nothing would be resisting your natural path anymore. The sensation of weight is relational. It requires contact. It requires obstruction. Without resistance, gravity is invisible. And here's the philosophical pivot. So much of what we think is force in our lives is actually resistance to natural motion. Stress, tension, pressure often arise not because something is pulling us down, but because we are braced against change. Standing firm, and a curved reality in the sky. There's beauty in that, because without resistance, there's no structure. Without the ground pushing up, you couldn't walk. Without the ground pushing up, you couldn't walk. Without curvature, stars wouldn't ignite. The same geometric principle that makes you feel heavy also forged the carbon in your bones inside ancient stars. You're a pattern in curved space-time, held together by forces that never actually touch, standing on a planet that isn't pulling you, but accelerating into you. Let that sink in right. Right now, as you sit there, the Earth is preventing you from falling. Atoms are repelling atoms, and space-time is curved beneath your feet. Also, you can watch this. Also, consciousness, this improbable arrangement of matter, can wonder about itself. Have you ever noticed that falling feels strangely peaceful? Lighty, that moment in a roller coaster when your stomach rises. That's your body briefly returning to its natural state. Free fall is the closest you get to being unforced. Standing is effort. Existence is effort. But that effort is what makes mountains climbable, oceans swimmable, cities buildable. Gravity is not the villain dragging you down. It's the geometry that makes worlds possible. And weight is the signature of contact with reality. So next time you stand up, feel it. Not as oppression, but as interaction. You are touching the Earth, and the Earth is pushing back. Not because gravity is pulling you, but because you're refusing to fall. And that refusal is life. We are temporary patterns resisting the smooth flow of the cosmos, briefly solid in a universe that prefers motion. briefly upright in a geometry that prefers motion. Because briefly upright in a geometry that curves, questioning, realizing that what we thought was a pull is actually a push, what we thought was force is actually shape, what we thought was heaviness is actually contact. The laws of physics don't say no to us. They simply describe the stage. And on that stage, we get this fleeting chance to stand. So let me ask you one final question. If gravity isn't pulling you down, if you're actually being pushed up by the earth, if falling is freedom and standing is resistance, what else in your life feels like a force, but is really just geometry? Tell me in the comments. Remember, eject to the sky if the laws of... Remember, you're not being dragged down by the universe. You're being held up by it. And that is a beautiful thing.